Welcome back to the Development Book Club. Today we begin with The Bare Bones of the Buddha's Teaching by Dr. Victor Bird. And we'll just talk to introduce the book of the introduction in the first two chapters, which are about the first and second noble truths of the Buddha. To begin, before we even hop into that, in the introduction of the book, the author's intentions are sort of revealed as a radical approach to Buddhism. This is to say, there's an image provided from Krishnamurti, who has a disturbing analogy that illustrates our sort of tendency for improving our lives rather than radically changing them. He imagines somebody busily working away their precious life, decorating a prison cell. So like putting the couch here, putting some curtains there, painting the walls a nice color, all the while denying the stark reality. My God, I'm trapped in a prison. This is one of the initial images of the book that we should keep in mind as we continue to work through it. He also, so Dr. Victor Bird also offers this image or this text when it comes to like Western Buddhism, as there tends to be a lot of criticism of that sort of movement. And he says that the Buddha-Dharma was able to maintain the essence of its Indian origins while morphing into something uniquely Chinese and Japanese, that is with Zen Buddhism. And he says, in a sense, this amazing process could not have occurred without an intrinsically powerful conservative force that maintained the core of Indian deism as it melted down in China and Japan, reemerging after 1,000 years as a vibrant new practice. So this is sort of to give hope that there can be a Western or American Buddhism. That's the intro. Chapter 1 is the first noble truth, which is, we will continue to expand our Pali vocabulary here, dukkha, D-U-K-K-H-A, which is frequently translated as suffering or dissatisfaction, pain, and anxiety are all examples of other translations of dukkha. So suffering is the most common one. And the image here is of an axle, which is off-center with respect to its wheel, or a bone, let's say, that has popped out of its socket. The Buddha here says that this sort of off-centeredness is an intrinsic fundamental part of the human condition. Most of us, at least in the West, prefer to think of suffering as an aberration, a circumstantial situation, like a toothache, let's say. We will just endure it until it goes away. The message here, the radical message alluded to in the introduction, is that as long as we cling to the illusion that suffering is nothing but a temporary run of bad luck and that things will soon settle down and life will finally get back to normal, as long as we believe all those things, we will never break through the iron walls of delusion. Page 6. So a different message here than we may normally get. Chapter 2 is the second noble truth. So we had dukkha, number 2, tanha, T-A-N-H-A, which is translated as a total craving that hollows out the heart. This is the cause of suffering. This is like the why suffering comes into being. Desire is a frequent translation, but it's much more than, tanha is much more than simple desire. It's a desire that becomes obsessive, ravenous even. Other translations are craving or unquenchable thirst. And the Buddha divides tanha into 3 realms. The first of which is sensual thirst, we can say. This is, think of how our eyes or our senses, like all of our senses, so our eyes, how they wander from object to object, just walking down the street, let's say. And it's not just the 5 senses, but our thoughts as well. That's sensual thirst. Number 2, temporal thirst. And this is the desire for everything worldly. Maybe a more sophisticated version of sensual thirst. This is like the drive toward fame and success and looking good to others. Number 3 is spiritual thirst. And you could say this might be a more even sophisticated version of temporal thirst. And this is a craving for the rewards of the otherworldly. So like profound calm, this deep insight, immortality even. And this is really like a spiritual materialism, sort of fetishizing these spiritual goals or treasures. Those are the first 2 chapters. We will continue next time with the rest of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths. Thank you for watching.